So last time we were here, we talked a little bit about some difficulties that you were having, and you were a little concerned with the fact that you weren't able to perform when you wanted to sexually.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sums it up a little bit. Okay. Well, I just want to know, I want you to know before we even start that some of these questions I'm going to ask you may seem a little all over the place. There's a lot of history that goes along with it, and a lot of current circumstances, and there might be some questions that could possibly make you uncomfortable. At no point do you have to talk about things that make you uncomfortable, and just say, move on to the next question. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Just to give you a little background, so to help with a particular problem when you come into therapy, at least a family therapist, we're going to look at a lot of different areas. So we're going to look at you as the person, and that's going to be, you know, some of the biology and genetics that go along with things and questions that surround that, and maybe your immediate family and your small peer group, and then we're just going to broaden that out and look a little bit further, all the way to, you know, what's your culture? That would be the largest system. And in this first section, I'm not really sure if we'll be able to get into the culture. That'll probably be in the third session. So we're going to start today with what is called the microsystem. I'm going to ask you some questions about your family, maybe your peer groups that you have now or you grew up with, and some biology. Is that comfortable for you?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. So, as you were growing up, what were your family's beliefs about sexuality and gender roles? Just anything that sticks out.
Well, gender roles is pretty kind of, you know, simple. You know, my mom was both. I don't know about the sexual beliefs. I guess.
Did she talk to you about?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you're supposed to, you know, get married and have kids, and you know, it wasn't really until I was older that I actually ran into, you know, a sexual belief system. My godparents kind of like, you know, enforce this abstinence until you are married, and you know, had it make sense to me, but until I was, you know, 13 or so, really it wasn't there. It was just be cautious, more of a teaching instead of you know, reasons for.
You said that was about 13. When
Yeah, I was about 13. Yeah, with my.
Okay, and you said your mom played both roles. What do you mean by that?
So, you know, I didn't meet my dad until I was 15, so, you know, if I had questions about, you know, guy stuff, then I asked my mom. If my sister had questions about girl stuff, she asked my mom. And if I had questions about girl stuff, then I would ask her, and vice versa with my sisters. You know, so she was pretty much, you know, both parents. You know, she taught, you know, my sister how to, you know, it sounds stereotypical, flip and dance and stuff like that. At the same time, you know, taught me stuff like how to throw a ball and hit a ball and keep my eye on it, and you know, stuff like that. You know, traditionally the dad's role. So I mean, I think she picked up both relatively well. I'm sure there's some areas missing. One person can't do everything.
Okay. So, specifically, did your mom talk to you about sexuality, such as intercourse or, you know, intimacy issues even with girls, or did you think you learned that from a different place, like, for instance, your peer group?
Yeah, I would say it was more peer group. Now, my mom was pretty open, so if we asked her a point-blank question, then she would answer it as truthfully as possible. But the volunteering information that was difficult to talk about, that was mom.
And you didn't ask her?
Not really. We'd ask her stuff like, you know, if we were getting pressured into smoking or drinking or something like that, we'd ask her, you know, how bad is this drug really? And then she would give us her belief, and then she would sit down with us, and we'd look it up, and we'd see like what the ins and outs and why, you know, it's so detrimental to the brain, stuff like that. But we didn't really do that with sex. I don't think me and my sister really had any qualms with it. We were pretty intelligent, thanks to Mom. So we could figure stuff out from the peer group, and if we really, really, couldn't get it from there, then we would do our own little research. We didn't have to have Mom with me with a shoulder to do it.
What about your peer group? What kind of messages do you think you got from them? It sounds like it might have been 2 different times, but
Yeah, there was 2 different times. The peer group from, let's say, 16 until 23, maybe 22, maybe, was, you're young, have fun, be careful, don't get killed, and be cautious that you don't catch anything, but at the same time, live your life, to the fullest. And so it was very unconcerned with traditional methods that follow like a religious, teaching. And prior to that, from 13 to say 15 or 16, my godparents had given me such a strong religious influence, and it wasn't like throwing a Bible at my head. It was more like I would see how they were living, and I would see like the good that was flowing through their family, and I would want to emulate that, and I wanted to emulate it so much that teaching that they gave me was even influenced today. So in that short time period, they'd give me a little bit of responsibility and a little bit of insight, and I think that's what kind of kept me from getting killed in my teenage years.
your godparents sound like great people.
Mm-hmm.
Another time I'd love to know what happened at 16. Where'd they go? But
Yeah.
Let's just go on right now, and maybe we'll go back to that another time. So your friend group, do you think they were having relations with, opposite sex partners or
Oh, absolutely.
Early?
Oh yeah. From the time that I was a sophomore until I came out of high school,
About how
that
old
was,
is this sophomore?
I'd say I was around 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there until I graduated high school, I'd say I was 1 year older than everybody else, so I was 19. So about 3 years. That every weekend we would just go to somebody's house and drink, and some people would sleep together, and that's just how that was. Now, me and a buddy of mine were a lot less wrapped into that, and his reason was far different from mine. My reason was my godparents were always in the back of my head, and I always felt that that guilt of like this. Somewhere that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. So I would really limit it to being there, maybe drinking a beer with everybody. And my best friend, he was from freshman year on madly in love with the girl that he's married to today, and that kept him out of trouble. Like they dated from that point, and then they've been married ever since. They have a son, So, man, he had a completely different influence, but our actions, in these events were very similar. And if you hadn't known any better, you'd think it was for the same reason, but it wasn't.
It sounds like you really respect.
Yeah, I mean, he was very loyal as a kid, and not many people are. And his loyalty didn't just lie with me; it lied with his current wife, his family, his mother, his father, his brothers and sisters. He was very like, this is what needs to happen, and he would stick to it.
I'll switch gears just a little bit. I'm gonna switch. Do you have a partner? You have a partner now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you and your partner communicate about what you like and you dislike, either intimacy issues or bedroom issues, or is
I
it
think
verbally or
early in our relationship it was trial and error. It was frustration. I think if one person was frustrated and ended the session, we would realize that something was not okay. I think now, more or less, we talk, and we seem to be more verbal. Like even in the interactions, even in the intimate interactions. So, move here. Wait a minute. Let me try something real fast. You know, there's all kinds of. I mean, like we talk very comfortably now. That wasn't so in the beginning, but.
So you're moving towards more comfortability.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's great. Are you taking any medications right now? Or we should, maybe it might affect.
Maybe sometimes I take this antidepressant, and I think that messes with me. I've had a couple of knee surgeries, so I take pain medication, and I kind of, you know, I'm worried about that sometimes, but nothing that I think that if I, you know, once I stop, that I think the influence should continue on.
Okay. Well, some of those things have been known to affect arousal levels, so, you know, we're going to go through this case history, but we'll probably look back at that too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any, this is not one of those uncomfortable questions, do you have any history of like injury of a sexual nature or trauma that might?
No, I don't think anything that people would consider trauma.
Or any trauma, doesn't have to be sexual.
You know, I was taking a shower one time. You know, my sister walked into the bathroom because I forgot to lock the door. I don't think that's trauma, but you know, it's kind of embarrassing then. I don't have anything past that though. Nothing as horrible as I've, you know, read in the news or, you know, seen, you know, in the public forum.
Okay. Well, that really kind of takes care of the microsystem, which now we're going to go further and go into the muscle system. We're just going to go a little bit broader. We're going to see how like the microsystems, the individuals work together. So, how do you think your previous sexual relationships affect your current sexual relationships, if at all? Relationship.
I don't think they have that much of an influence today. I think, I mean, that's where I got most of, you know, my learning, I guess, where I learned what worked and what didn't. But, now, you know, after 10 years, more relearned everything. Got rid of the old stuff, so.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about your stress levels right now. How much is going on right now?
I think there's a lot going on. My job keeps me on a different schedule from everybody else. School, I thought I was pretty good at math, and there's a lot that I forgot from the time that, you know, I last took a math course to now. It still clicks in pretty easy, but I have to be reminded, you know what goes where, and you know what rules apply here and stuff like that. And although it's very similar to my career field, there's some, you know, if I left that for about 5 or 6 years, I would probably have to do the same thing. What rules apply here, you know, what doesn't apply here. So it's really stressful to have to learn everything all over again.
So you're going to college and you have a job?
Hmm?
Mm-hmm. And how much time have you put all that together?
Well, the job alone is about 42 hours a week, give or take some. Class is about an hour a day, Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. If you take into account homework, I think the other night I took a quiz that took me about 3 hours to do. It wasn't really a 3-hour quiz, but what happened was I had forgotten a couple rules in factoring and had to acquire that knowledge. So yeah, it took quite a while. I think it was like 4 in the morning before I got done with it.
Wow.
And getting off at 12, you know. So yeah, so it's
You know, working school, it's looking like 65 hours a week.
yeah, well, yeah, about let's see, around there, yeah.
You said you have a family.
Yes.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, I actually don't see my kids during the week, except for Wednesdays. I see them then. But by the time they get out of school, or first of all, when they wake up, I'm asleep. When they come home from school, I'm already starting work, and then when I get off, it's 12 in the morning. They're asleep. So on Wednesdays, normally I do try to get up a little earlier, so that I can, get some stuff done, and then by the time they get home, I'm all done with everything. Excuse me. But lately, it seems like I'm just recovering. So.
Like you get enough sleep?
Yeah, on Wednesday. No, not during the week. In fact, the class gets harder and harder as the week goes on. After a day off, like I recover, and it seems to get easier again because I can think about what I'm doing. But
when you go to sleep, is it hard to go to sleep? Easy, somewhere in between?
Well, there's a lot going on. It depends on, like, if I take a 4-hour quiz, it's pretty easy to go to sleep. If I, after I'm done with my homework, normally on average takes like an hour and a half. Once I'm done with that, usually there's just a lot of stuff to think about. What's going on with the equipment I have to use for work, and any upcoming stress levels or any upcoming stressful events, any upcoming events that aren't particularly stressful but need planning, that I don't want to disappoint someone here or there. I have 2 girls that have a birthday coming up, and they need planning, but my wife is up on this time period, I'm up on this time period, and to be honest, I don't have a lot of influence in the time periods that the girls would have their party. I'll be at work, and the girls will be at the party, or I'll take off that day, but how exhausted am I going to be at the party? Am I really going to be able to be happy daddy at the party? And that's kind of stressful sometimes.
So I have a question. So you were mentioning that when you're falling asleep, sometimes those thoughts infiltrate your sleep. I was wondering if the same thing sort of happened when you were maybe trying to start sexual relations, and do you have issues with thoughts that you don't really want to be around?
Well,
you have high desirability.
Yeah, in the middle of sex, sometimes it comes about, and it definitely influences my drive or desire or whatever.
Are you thinking about random things, or are you thinking about specific things?
Honestly, I can't recall of any particular thing that I'm thinking about. Something becomes uncomfortable, so I can't get it to go away. It's not anything different from what was comfortable a day ago. It's just the combination of, man, there's a lot going on, and I have a lot to do, and this is I can't keep myself into the moment or into the environment of the situation.
Okay. One more question, I think then we're gonna wrap it up today. Do you think that, or is your desire to be intimate, as much as it was prior to these stress levels, or before? Does not have to do with the stress levels, or is it about the same as it's always been? Has it gone down or up, or is it fluctuating?
I would say my want and desire is the same. My ability and the time period and what I think is practical has changed as I've gotten older. When I was a teenage boy, 15 or 16, that's all I wanted to do all the time, and I didn't think there was anything impractical about that. All the girls looked good, and that was me. Now, let me get a halfway point. When I was first married, my wife was beautiful. That's all I wanted. That didn't seem impractical to me either. I just wanted to have her all the time. And now I feel the same way, but it's not practical. Our times don't match up, and there's things that keep that from actually making practical sense, and I'm old enough to realize that nobody can stay glued together for 24 hours a day. So, as impractical as that seems, that's actually what I thought back then. As a teenager or as a young married husband.
You think you would still want to be glued to your significant other?
I think that I'm glued to my significant other mentally. I think that the physical part of it keeps it. I mean, I think that was the impracticality of it. I think that mentally, we're always on the same page on stuff, and I have proof that shows to the fact. So I have 3 amazing kids, and they're extremely intelligent. Also, they're very happy. A great house. We have a really good life together. Our one little tiny problem area is where we can't mentally sync up because we're just not on the same. There's just so much going on, and we're not in the same time. I think that time period had a lot to do with it, but we also have a lot going on. And the stress levels are very high for both of our worlds.
Well, I'm really happy at the information we gathered today. That's a lot of great stuff. Next week, we're going to go into the next 3 levels. The next one will be exosystem. We'll go all the way to the chronos system, which really is going to look into your culture and some things like genealogy, or where did you come from? What are your roots? And those are always fun to get into and see maybe where your ancestor from 1890 has some influence on how you are today.
Well,
it seems a little far out, and we probably won't technically go into that direction, but that's the area we're going to end up. And then once we have good information at our fingertips, then we're going to go back, put it all together, and see how this might help what you actually came in here for.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.
All right. In that time.